Hi, welcome to the Peaceful Home. Today I'm going to show you how my husband and I made this dining room table step by step. We made this for our vacation rental and we needed a very specific size. So I'm going to show you how we did it and how you can customize this to be a sofa table, a coffee table, a nightstand, anything you'd like. If we haven't met, I'm Teresa Elling. I'm a professional organizer, parenting coach, wife and homeschool mom to 6 graduated kids. And on this channel, we talk about all things home and family. If that's of interest to you, I would love it if you would subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you're alerted when I have new videos. Have you done any kind of woodworking? I would love to hear what you have built. Let me know in the comments below. Now we are going to jump right into this tutorial, but I wanted to let you know that I am not a master craftsman. I am not a fine furniture builder. It's a good thing that I like a rustic look because that is how I build my furniture. And so for this one, it is pretty rustic. I beat it up pretty good with chains and hammers and other tools. I stained it, sanded it off, stained again, sand it more to distress it, and it just came up with the look that I wanted. Now we built this table specifically for our vacation rental, and I will put the Airbnb link below. I would love to have you come and stay with us. But we had a very specific area that it had to go into. There wasn't a lot of room between the refrigerator and the front wall. And a lot of the tables that we looked at were just a little bit too big, but we also needed it to seat 6. And so we couldn't do a smaller table that would seat 4. So we customized it to make it the perfect size. I start by drawing up a little sketch just so I have some idea of what I'm doing. I decided to use 4x4s for the legs, but you could go a little bit smaller. You could do 2x4s or even 1x3s for a small table. I plan on doing supports all the way around and 2 down the middle of the table, and then 1x12s that will go across the top. It was really nice to have Kevin help me on this project, especially for cutting the 4x4s. We just used a chop saw, and I used the dining table in my house to get an idea of height. I decided to use 1x4s as the supports, basically to go around each of the 4 legs, and then to use them in the middle as well for further support for the top. Because we used this soft pine, we pre-drilled the 4 holes that would go into the top of the leg. And you can see here how it's going to go across, and it's easy to lay the 2 sides down to start. This is a little trick that we used, using the driver to go in the top of the drill hole to widen for the head of the screw. Once we got the 2 sides done on the ground, then we were able to lift those up. And in that case, the best thing to do is to pre-drill and put your screws in partially so they're ready to go. All you have to do is hold it up against the leg and screw it in. Next, we measured and cut for the interior support pieces. We chose to do 2, and we used 2 screws in each side, again pre-drilling. Here's what the tabletop would look like using 1x4s. You could also use 1 solid piece of plywood. We chose to use 3 pieces of 1x12s. And we also decided to glue and use a nail gun. Gluing is not absolutely necessary, but we chose to do it. You want to make sure to put on a good amount of glue, smooth it out with your finger. After confirming the location of the support piece down below, we used another piece of wood to line up where we needed to put the nails. We continued gluing the remaining 2 pieces, smoothing out that glue, and again using the nail gun to go through the supports. Here I'm using Elmer's glue because I was actually out of wood glue, but it really isn't all that different. Also, if you don't have a nail gun, you can use finishing nails or small screws, and that works fine too. We put the 1x12s on at the length we purchased them at, and we needed to trim off the excess, so we just clamped on a board that would give us a guide
for sawing off the extra wood. Distressing was next, and I use a hammer that has some sharp edges. It makes some really nice deep cuts in the wood, and also this chain, which makes just kind of like narrow dents and impressions, and it works perfectly. Don't be afraid to dent up the wood. It really works well for giving your piece a distressed old look at the end. Then it was time to sand the entire thing, including the edges, the corners, all of the seams. I started with a 60 grit sandpaper, moving on to 100 and then to 220 to finish it off. The next step was to stain the piece, and I purchased a stain in a color that I've gotten before, but this time when I put it on, it had a really reddish look, and I did not like it. So I ended up sanding it off and reapplying a different stain to get it a little more brown and not so red. I usually brush on the stain and then use a rag to wipe off the excess and to rub it into the wood a little bit. Here I'm only showing you the brushing. You can see the difference between the two colors, and I'm so glad I redid this. The final step was to use a polyurethane or a polyacrylic. This is what I used this time in a satin finish, and I don't have footage of this, but I painted it on one coat, and then I used steel wool to sand in between and did a second coat.
Again, the great thing about this simple design is that you can change it up to be just about anything you'd like. You could lower it to make it a coffee table. You could make it more narrow to be a sofa table. You also could even add a second shelf. And you could do a little tiny one as a nightstand. These also would make great outdoor furniture on a patio or a porch. So really the sky's the limit. Be creative. You can also chalk paint your piece or leave it natural. There's just so many options. If you do build one, I would love it if you would email me a photo and show it to me. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Peaceful Home. Have a great day.